Okay, now I have my summary statistics for my data, and now I'm going to go about the process of making a histogram here based on the data itself. Unfortunately, spreadsheets are not very good at histograms by themselves. Excel tries and usually does a mediocre to poor job. Google Docs doesn't even try. There's no way to make a histogram. You typically have to do them by hand. What I'm going for now is going to be setting it up by hand, and the first thing you have to do is decide what you want your x-axis to look like. How wide are the bins, where do they start, and where do they end? My data goes from a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 53, with 3/4 of the data set centered between 0 and 10. So I'm going to have my bins go from 0 to, it has to go above 53, 0 to 55 or 60, and I'm going to go by 5 so that I can see the difference between all of these. So I'm going to make my list of what I want my x-axis tick marks to look like. 0, 5, 10, 15. Now, if you don't want to keep typing all these numbers, once you've established an arithmetic progression, once you've established a pattern that goes by the same amount, Excel will finish that off for you if you grab that little black box at the bottom. Or you can just type them all yourself. And remember, your numbers might be different than mine. This is just my particular data went 0 to 53, went 1 to 53, and I wanted to go by 5s, and so I did this. Here I'm going to use the spreadsheet function COUNTIF. And what COUNTIF does is it counts the number of items in a particular range that meet a particular criteria. In this case, my first criteria is going to be the number of items that are less than 5. How many states have fewer than 5 representatives? So I'm counting the items in this range that are less than 5, and there should be 21 of them. Indeed there are. And so I want to just keep copying this down. One thing about these spreadsheets, when you copy a cell range, it will change the cell range depending on where you paste it to, unless you tell it otherwise. It uses a relative reference. In this case, we want an absolute reference. We always want to go from B2 to B51. So I'm putting $signs in here that make it go B2 to B51. It's now an absolute cell reference. And I can copy this, and it won't change the cell references. You notice I double-clicked there and it copied it all the way down the list. In this case now I'm looking for ones that are less than 10, and the number of states that are less than 15, the number less than 20, and so on down the list until I get to the bottom. We are at 46 out of the 50 states have fewer than 20 representatives, including us in Ohio. We have 16. Fewer than 30. We've picked up New York and Florida. At fewer than 35, we haven't got any, but when we hit fewer than 40, we've added Texas to the list. Fewer than 45. Fewer than 50. Fewer than 55, and we have now added California. And fewer than 60, we have all 50 states have fewer representatives. It turns out I don't need this line, so I will delete that. And so now we've got the list of how many states have that many representatives or fewer.